Let me know if you want any more of these. So this is a true history of our planet, very condensed, but I can recommend some books, etc. So there's a planet called Planet X, which is what NASA calls it, but it's actually called NIBIRU, and that was written in the Book of Enoch, which was a book, not really a book, but more tablets, etc. Written a couple of thousand years before the Bible, and in fact was the original Bible. However, we've changed it. The only original Bible that's left is the Ethiopian, which is still the Book of Enoch, and it talks about a race called the Anunnaki, which are about 12 foot tall, and they came to Earth and they landed. That's why you see the Sumerian tablets. They landed in a place called Eridu, which is in old Iraq, which is near Egypt, which is why the history of those places are the oldest histories we've got. So if you want more, let me know, and I'm running out of time here, but I will carry on more. So following on from the Book of Enoch, which talks about the Nibiru planet, which has a 3,600 year elliptical orbit. That means the Anunnaki who live on it, for one of our years, is 3,600 there. So they could sleep here on Earth for 100 years, and to us it would, or to them it would be one night, but to us obviously it's 100 years. So they came here, and when they landed, the first thing they did on the first day was catalogue stuff. So the first thing they done was catalogue water, and the second day they catalogued plants, the third day insects, the fourth day, and so on. And on the seventh day, guess what they did? They rested. Yeah, funny that's now totally changed in the other Bibles, but the original Bible, which was the Book of Enoch, explains it clearly. And they came to mine gold to help their atmosphere. Yes, we think gold is valuable, but we learned it from these guys, and I'll explain how these guys are connected to us in the next video. So what normally precedes the planet Nibiru is meteorites. So we will be bombarded with meteorites because they circle round Nibiru and the dead star. I think it's a dwarf star. So we was actually a binary star system, believe it or not. We had two suns, but one died out and went on its way around that elliptical orbit. The Hopi Indians actually called the planet the Blue Planet, or the Destroyer, and they obviously called it Destroyer because when it come round it caused problems. Now there's some astronomers these days that say that certain angles in certain positions around the world, they can take pictures or videos of the blue planet on its way back round here. Do your own research on this. A lot of them say it's on its way and it could be here within the next 10 years. The secret military complex, which is basically a government to themselves, but they're funded by the American government. For example, 2001, Donald Rumsfeld gave a press statement and said they've lost trillions of dollars. They didn't lose it. It went to fund the secret military complex in things like building these spaceships. So this is the X-37B. And they sent up loads of these as a robotic. They're robotics, so there's no one inside. And they sent them to try and push Nibiru out of as much as possible out of the way, so it won't cause so much problems. And they used a thing called the D-Star program, which has the ability to push a planet out of the way. Now, with that, that means either the Anunnaki weren't on the planet anymore because they wouldn't want their planet nudged because of their problems they'll have with that, or we've been lied to and they didn't try and nudge it. So I'm not. Space, the final frontier. So we call ourselves the third rock from the sun because we're egotistical and we believe that the sun is everything, but the actual Anunnaki in their texts ride it from outwards to inwards, which is different from what we do. And the reason why they do that in their texts is because, let's be honest, they come from outside of our solar system. So to them, they're passing all these other planets to get to us, as opposed to coming from the center of the sun outwards, you see. So it makes more sense when you look at the texts. And they did, they actually did describe planets on their carvings. So it's not a huge stretch of the imagination to understand that back then there was no telescopes. So the only way anyone would have been able to do such a thing as this would be as if they travelled there. And that solidifies. Please, no rude comments. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. So I know I said I'd do 3-minute videos in the last video. I said that, but really they're not getting hits. The 3-minute ones are literally 100 people if I'm lucky, whereas a minute ones, you know, a couple of thousand. Now, back in the day when I first started doing these, I was getting tens of thousands. But what's also happening apparently is people was telling me that they can't actually find my videos anymore. Even though they're following me and they should show up as they scroll on all the videos, different people's videos, mine's not showing up, which means I'm probably hitting the mark with some of my comments, and obviously the powers that be doesn't want people to know. So they're you know, strangling me. So I probably will stick with the 1-minute videos just to get more views out there. I'm sorry, I know I wanted to do the 3-minute videos. Okay, so let's go back to the Anunnaki. So the Anunnaki, as you know, live on the planet Nibiru, and their orbit was the elliptical orbit that goes around our sun every 3,600 years approximately. And there's a website here, it's a good little website. I'll just give you the link to it. You can pause it, www. If you want to go on to that website, you can. Okay, so what you do is you put your birthday in, and it will tell you how old you will be on your next birthday, and how old you are on whatever planet that's here. Obviously, they don't have Nibiru planet on here. But so I'm just, before I carry on with the Anunnaki, I just want to make it clear that although on Earth we live approximately 80 years, let's just say. So if you went from Earth and stayed on their planet, the Nibiru's planet, that has 3,600 year orbit, you'd still only die when you're 80. So you know, their planet wouldn't go around our sun once. You'd be dead in their terms. You'd be dead in, you know, probably almost like a day or two or week or whatever it would be. So, but that's because we've evolved to live 80 years. Some argue that we was genetically changed to actually live only 80 years, because prior to the flood we was living 300, 400, 500 years. But so if you was living on Nibiru and evolved on Nibiru, then to you on Nibiru you probably would live 80 years, maybe longer. But 80 years going around our sun at 3,600 years every one of our years would make you live longer. So just trying to reiterate that point, that although we would die in a week on their planet, if they came here, they would live a lot longer and seem immortal. The Anunnaki, come on down. And they did actually come on down, and what they actually found, and they wrote about this a lot, is that the ground that they walked on was hot. They didn't like our sun, and that's because our sun is quite close to us compared to where they live on their planet. Now, occasionally when their planet finally gets round on their elliptical orbit, yes, it gets hot, but they couldn't stand our heat, and they wrote about burning their feet and all sorts of stuff. So the Anunnaki wore clothes, yes. Guess where humans learnt to make clothes? I'll give you one guess. I know we all think we're clever and we done it, but guess where we learned it from? So they wore clothes, and in fact the women actually would have hairdos. Now I know this looks like a lizard creature, but apparently according to stitching, this was an Anunnaki woman all dressed up to the nines on I'm guessing on a day out. So let's just talk about Nibiru, which NASA calls Planet X. It's also been called the Destroyer. It's called the Blue Star by the Hopi Indians. And it's got different names, but basically it's Planet X or Nibiru. Now, Zachariah Sitchin actually called it the 12th planet, and he wrote a book called the 12th planet. So if you're interested, get the book. Now, here is apparently a pirate video of NASA's, someone leaked it to the internet, of their projections for what happens to Nibiru. So I don't know if you can see here, that says Nibiru. Now whether or not this is from NASA, I don't know, whether someone else done it, but the idea is it shows you here that it slingshots back and obviously passes the sun and Earth. So that's where it's supposed to cause the most damage, and then it goes off back around. Here's a NASA guy trying to explain why there is no Nibiru.
If this object had come through the solar system in the past, and you remember the idea is it's on an orbit of 3,600 years. If it had come through in the past, its gravity would have messed up the orbits of the inner planets. The Earth, Venus, Mars, probably would have stripped the moon away completely.
Okay, so that's him, and this is me now saying there's a planet out there called Fomalhaut B, and it goes around its star every 2,000 years, and it doesn't push the planets out. We've been watching it, and the planets ain't flying off or anything. And who's to say that NIBIRU didn't already push us off our orbits, etc.? Who's to say we're now not in an orbit that we was in before? Now, you got to remember there was the planet supposedly spins on its axis. Who's to say it wasn't NIBIRU that caused that? You see, this is why I hate these people from NASA that try and debunk things when they're